Hi everybody, this is Alex Newton from K-lytics with a special video on Facebook ad targeting. This video is about revolutionary new features that Facebook has been rolling out to the general public. Not many people know about these, but these features are going to make Facebook advertising for low-priced items such as books, for example, so much more viable than it has been before. So what's the big new feature I'm talking about? It's called flexible and/or exclusion and intersection ad targeting. And you'll be saying, what? Well, rightly so. That is not very easy to understand. But no worries, it is simple. What you have to know is you can target specific audiences in Facebook. That has been the case before. So, for example, you could choose to target people based on their interests. And these interests may include things people shared on their timelines, the apps they use, the pages they like, etc., their activities on and off Facebook. And say you could run ads for people who are interested in romance novels. In fact, there are 16 million people in the US who have, or at least expressed, this interest on Facebook. But let's say you wanted to be much more specific and you are a paranormal romance author writing books that involve vampires, let's say romance novels that involve vampires. And of course, you could also add an additional interest in the Facebook targeting feature. So, for example, there are people who expressed an interest for vampire literature. And there are about 190,000 of those people in the US. Now, here's the problem. So far, you could only combine these two interests with the operator or. So Facebook would show the ad to people who are interested in romance novels or vampire literature. Now that poses a problem because you don't know how many people in that audience have the interest for both vampire novels and vampire literature, and that's unfortunately exactly the audience that you really want to target. And this is a big problem because the ad may be shown to people who like romance novels in general, but who actually hate vampire-related literature. Or vice versa, it is shown to people who like vampire literature, but who hate romance. And that's exactly not what you want to have. This has changed because Facebook interest targeting now allows you to introduce an AND operator that can allow you to exactly target the intersection. And this would be about 100,000 people in the US who expressed an interest for both vampire literature and romance novels. Now, why is this massive? Well, it is massive because it is a massive reduction of so-called waste coverage in advertising. What does this mean? Well, before you played your ad and say you spend X number of dollars, and these dollars were spread across, as you've just seen, a fairly unspecific audience, where in fact only a small part of this audience was relevant from the perspective of your ad. And this means that a fairly big proportion of your ad spend was basically wasted, and that's what's called waste coverage in advertising. Now, this has completely changed because you decide to spend X number of dollars. You can target your audience much more specifically, which means that the dollars you spend actually arrive at the audience that you want to target. Why is this relevant for authors, for example? High waste coverage leads to low so-called click-through rates and low conversion because the ad about your book, in our example paranormal romance, is shown to way too many people who have no interest in such topic whatsoever. And this is particularly detrimental if you advertise books because low conversion is simply not affordable for low price merchandise such as books. The cost per click is simply too high and you will make a big loss on your ad. And one word of caution about Facebook ads, don't lose your shirt. Because if you're not experienced in Facebook advertising, even with the new features I'm going to talk about, it's so easy to lose your shirt, to lose a lot of money on Facebook advertising. It does take experience and it does take testing and it does take looking at the numbers. But if you go through this, on the other end of the spectrum, they can also be extremely profitable. But let me first give you an example of why Facebook advertising has been so problematic for lower priced items such as books. This is a slightly simplified example, but let's assume that you have an ad budget of about $100 and you buy views for at a cost of about $5 per 1,000 views, or impressions as they are called in advertising. That's a measure called CPM, cost per mil, cost per 1,000 impressions. So at that price, and that's slightly higher here than the global average for Facebook, which was around $4 in 2015. But let's be conservative, and this value can fluctuate a lot depending on the targeting. But let's say this buys you about 20,000 views, 20,000 times that the ad is viewed. And again, if we take the global average of the click-through rate, that means what percentage of people actually click on the link in the ad. Let's assume 0.8%. And again, this value can vary significantly. It can go up to 2, 4, 6% if the ad is highly relevant to the audience. But before we had these targeting features, let's assume less than just short of 1% of people who view the ad click on the ad. That generates about 160 clicks at a cost of 63 cents per click. Again, to be conservative, this value is a little higher than the global average according to a company called Nanigans or DMR Digital Stats, just for the example. So we have about 160 clicks, which is not great, as you see. And these people arrive on your sales page that is selling the book, which could be either directly the Amazon sales page or a page on which you sell the book. And let's now assume that about 1 in 20 of these people who clicked on the ad and are on the landing page actually buy the book. So this would generate about 8 buyers. Now, given that you spend $100 on the ads in the first place and you only get 8 buyers, that means the cost of acquiring one buyer is $12.50 per buyer. That's the so-called cost per action or cost per acquisition. And you immediately see the numbers don't work for an item. Let's say you sell a book for $4.99, but of that ebook you only get a royalty of 70%, so $3.49 per book. That will generate a gross income of $28, which against the $100 you spent on the ad, give you a net loss of $72. Now see, with such advertising costs here, a CPM of $5 or a cost per click of 63 cents, and these click-through and conversion rates, if the product had been one that sold at these values, other things being equal, at $19, let's change this on the fly here. If it was $19 and again a gross margin of 17%, well, the ad would have at least had some profit just about break even here with an ROI of 6.4%. But back to the example of the $4.99 ebook. So let's say with these new advertising targeting features, you were able to show your book ad to a much, much better defined audience. And let's say that in a first step, you could double the click-through rate from 0.8% to 1.6%, which is clearly a value that is possible for ads that are highly relevant to the audience. And let's say as a second step, the higher relevancy of the ad to the people who click on it will increase your conversion to 10%. So you get 32 buyers who buy the book at $4.99, each generating $3.49 in royalties for you, which is an income of $112, which gives you a positive ROI on the advertising spend. Now, probably not a huge ROI and not a huge profit, but at least you're building your reader base without losing money on the ads anymore. Now, we could go much deeper into the numbers, but I don't want to overwhelm you with this. We will save this for a later training. But what you should take away is that advertising is extremely sensitive to the click-through rate and to the actual conversion rate. And the new advertising features are highly likely to drastically improve those values. So the new targeting features should make Facebook ads much more viable for lower priced items such as books. And there is more. The new flexible targeting options do not stop at interests. In fact, you can now flexibly combine, include or exclude specific interests, demographics, and behaviors. So for example, behaviors will give you the possibility even to target audiences that have a certain device usage, which means you can target people who actually have or are highly likely to have a Kindle device. Combine that with demographics, location, age, gender, language, you can see how powerful this combination targeting in custom audiences can be. Now, is it all really new? Well, no. Facebook introduced this so-called detailed targeting, formerly known as flex targeting, already in July 2014, but it was only accessible to professional advertisers who used the Facebook API. So the targeting has been there, but not for the general public. And this is what has changed over the recent month. Facebook has been rolling out the new features to everyone. Well, I don't know whether it is now available in all geographies, but it has been rolled out from the US, UK, and other geographies where it now is available to the general public. And that includes you. So let's go to the second video, ad targeting number 2, where I will show you how to access and use the detailed targeting features, where you really have to go on the Facebook Ad Manager to access the new Facebook ad features. We'll do some detailed screen share walkthrough and some case examples that will show you how to do it and how to use it. So see you in part 2. This is Alex Newton from K-lytics, ebook market intelligence for success.